Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton finding themselves on the defensive in Wisconsin. On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders, who's been on a winning streak lately, well, he's looking to gain some fresh momentum against frontrunner Clinton, as his camp says that Sanders has a, quote, clear path to the nomination if he keeps on winning. On the Republican side, Ted Cruz hoping to block Trump's march to the nomination by winning big today. Both men confident that they will come out on top in the Badger State.
I can't tell you how many media analysts I heard saying, well, Donald Trump is going to run away with Wisconsin. The one thing they forgot is the actual voters of Wisconsin. I believe tomorrow night we're going to have a terrific victory here in Wisconsin.
I've won millions of votes more than Ted, and you know the votes do matter, but millions of votes. I've won many, many states more than Ted. I think I'm up to 22 or 23, and he's at like 10 or something. And I'm doing very well, and I think we're going to have a surprise tonight because I see this, and even in the diner they're going around and they're interviewing the people, and everybody likes Trump, and I'm very happy. I love these people.
You heard him. Everybody in diners in Wisconsin loves Trump. What is going to happen tonight? Give us your prediction.
Well, in my district, they do like Trump a lot more than they do in southeast Wisconsin. If you look at the polling, I think that Ted Cruz has the edge in winning the state as a whole. But as you know, only part of the delegates are apportioned by who wins the state, but the others are who wins each congressional district. I think Donald Trump will do well in mine, which is central northern Wisconsin.
Why? Tell us why.
Well, because there's a set of voters who I think feel like they've been ignored. They feel like they haven't taken advantage of a growing economy. They've been left behind. They're patriots, and they're concerned about what's happening globally. They're concerned about the rise of ISIS. They're concerned about a president that will go to foreign leaders and bow to them. They're concerned about the southern border. But we have this unique dynamic in Wisconsin where we have a lot of history. We have the progressive movement. It started in Wisconsin. The Republican Party started in Wisconsin. We had the recalls. We have a very engaged electorate. And they pay attention to the candidates and their messages. But I think what's unique is Donald Trump talks about this idea that he's going to build a great American team. Well, if you look at Wisconsin, it's not like every other state. You think that he would say, conservative talk radio, they don't really like me. Hashtag never Trump are most of them. You'd think that he would understand that Scott Walker is popular, that Scott Walker's reforms are loved, not just by Republicans, but independents and Democrats. And to think that Donald Trump has come to our state when he was up in the polls and attacked Scott Walker makes me question, where's the great campaign team? If you're going to build a great American team, also build a great campaign team that can give you the advice on how to navigate our state.
But didn't Scott Walker make it pretty clear early on that he wasn't for Donald Trump? I mean, and we don't have to guess about that because they were competitors when we had like 17 people in the race on the Republican side.
He did make that clear, but I think what Ted Cruz did was courted Scott Walker so Scott didn't stay out of the race, but he actually endorsed.
Well, he tried to court a lot of people,
Cruz,
including Ben Carson.
He did, but Cruz won the endorsement. But just because he didn't get Scott Walker's endorsement doesn't mean you have to attack his reforms and attack him. Just let it go. Disengage, but when you start to attack very successful reforms and you use the points that Democrats, that liberals, progressives have used to attack Scott Walker, that really turns off conservative Republican voters. And I think that's been kind of the downfall of Donald Trump in our state.
Congressman, how's the economy played a part in this whole process? Because we know that Wisconsin has had a huge loss of manufacturing jobs. The unemployment rate there is pretty much in line with the rest of the country. So it's not like the state as a whole is much worse off than the country. But who is appealing to those that are most concerned about the economy?
It's a good point, a good question. So in my part of the state, which is central, northern, western Wisconsin, we have some of the counties that have the highest unemployment rates, are around 10%. And it's that group of people who, again, are great patriots. They work hard. They'll work 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. That look to Donald Trump and his message, and it really resonates with them.
Interesting.
What do you think about Ted Cruz? I mean, you mentioned you expect him to pull it out tonight. If you talk to the Trump campaign, they're banking very heavily on those independents in the state of Wisconsin. Why do you think Cruz is doing better? What is resonating with the voters? Is it just that Trump went after Walker? What is it about Cruz's message?
Well, if you look at the two candidates, I mean, Ted Cruz is really the true conservative. If you've dedicated your life to conservative principles, the idea of limited government, lower taxes, individual rights, Ted Cruz is the true conservative that's going to go to Washington and embody and fight for those principles. The ideas that I give my life to, that I spend time away from my own wife for. Donald Trump is someone who, you go, listen, he might embody these principles, but he always hasn't in recent history embraced the conservative philosophy. And so Ted Cruz has done well because conservative talk radio has helped make this point, that Ted Cruz is the one conservative left in the race, and if you care about these principles, he's your guy to grab the flag and carry it forward.
How important is Wisconsin, your state? How important is it in the overall race? Will this be a game changer tonight for either candidate, Cruz or Trump? Or Kasich?
I think it really is. So this is a race about momentum, right? Who has the most momentum coming forward now coming to New York? And I think if Donald Trump defeats Ted Cruz tonight, this race is over. But if Ted Cruz wins and wins big, I think he has the argument to make that he has the momentum and the wind to his back and will do well here in New York, the Northeast, in California. But what I think is even a bigger story, and I'm a Republican, but I can't help but notice what happens on the Democrat side. Bernie Sanders, I think, is going to do very, very well. We have a very, like I mentioned before, we have a very liberal, progressive movement. Think of Madison.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders appeals to these people. He's raising more money. He's winning more recent races. That Hillary Clinton thinks that the Democrat nomination is over. Guess again, Wisconsin is going to shake up her campaign and give Bernie momentum coming here to his home state of New York.
We're certainly going to keep our eyes on it, especially where those independents go.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, he keeps saying that he doesn't want it. But one Republican insider tells Politico there is a 54% chance, not 50, not 51 or 52, 54, folks, that House Speaker Paul Ryan ends up the Republican nominee if there's a contested convention. Top Republicans talking him up for a while now. But Ryan is pushing back, saying if you want to run for president, you run. But Politico explains, quote, Ryan, who's more calculating and ambitious than he lets on, is running the same playbook he did to become Speaker, saying he doesn't want it, that it won't happen. In both cases, the maximum leverage is to not want it and to be begged to do it. It sort of reminds you of dating a little, Taya, does it not? Is Speaker Ryan just playing hard to get? Because we know he has some kind of higher ambition because he was Mitt Romney's running mate. He's got the appetite. Now he's third in line for the presidency. Is this Wisconsin man, and we'll get to you soon, Congressman, is this what you think he wants? Is he playing hard to get?
He might be. I mean, he might be playing a little bit hard to get, but I also think right now the race is so volatile that you have to be, you know, you'd have to be ready for it and you'd have to want it really badly at this point in your life. He can always do it later, right? But this one is ugly. Trump makes it a little bit ugly. I think he throws out barbs all the time, and it's already a little bit congested, so I think he's smart not to do it. But you're right. That tactic has worked for him in the past, and there's no telling that it wouldn't work a little bit now if the establishment wants to go against what the voters say.
Well, what would happen if the establishment did that, Congressman? I know you like Paul Ryan.
Love him.
Great guy.
Wonderful.
And he's from Wisconsin,
Yes,
your home state. But what about the switcheroo? I mean, what if they roll out Speaker Ryan at that convention? You're going to have a lot of upset Cruz supporters and upset Trump supporters. How do you put the party back together?
But I think this argument is being made because Paul Ryan said, I don't want to be the Speaker, and all of a sudden he became the Speaker. And so now he says, I don't want to be president. They assume, oh, no, now you must really want to be president. You said, no. I'm friends with Paul. I was trying to get Paul to run for Speaker when John Boehner bowed out of the speakership, and he was like, I don't want it. I want to chair Ways and Means.
He put some conditions on that, didn't he?
I want to write tax code. How boring is that? I want to write tax code. That was my dream job.
Do you believe he just wants to write tax code?
Absolutely. And I think when he saw that when Kevin McCarthy couldn't get the votes to become the Speaker, he saw there was no one left, and his country called him, his party called him, he stood up and he ran for Speaker. Paul's being honest when he says, I don't want to be the president. Those who ran in Iowa should be the ones who are our nominee, and I think it will fracture our party. If we don't go with Cruz or with Trump, there's going to be a fracture that I don't think you can put together to beat Hillary.
That I think is for sure is that Paul Ryan doesn't want to necessarily get into this race, as Taya said, because this one's different. Yeah. But, you know, I have like my Faulkner short list, the 3 things that I think you're going to need to go up against Hillary Clinton, right? The ability to withstand that Death Star-like political machine that the Clintons have had over the years. Also, to be able to focus in on the things that resonate and keep everything else out. But you also have to have this fight. Remember, Samantha Power dropped out of Obama's primary season campaign for calling Hillary Clinton a monster. I mean, we've heard how dirty it can be when you take on somebody who's been in politics this long. Does Paul Ryan have that fight?
Does he have the fight, Sandra? I mean, and you see this race, as Harris mentioned, it's dirty. It's the ugliest presidential campaign I think we've seen in recent memory. If someone doesn't really want it, if that's the message, do you really want to draft someone that doesn't really want it, or who at one point said he wants to spend more time with his family?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I joked about the conditions, but the conditions were, right, that he was able to spend more time back in Janesville with his family. So if he's sending the same message now and the interpretation is that he really does want to run for president, I don't know. I guess I can leave that up for everybody else to decide. That being said, the state of the Republican Party today and where it may be, I don't know, put any time frame out there. What does the Republican Party look like sometime from now?
Well, listen, I think it's going to be a more conservative party and potentially with some different leaders. We'll see.
All right. All right. We will be watching.